अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। I would request all of you to raise your hands up high. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We can all do it together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरं हरि ओं तत्सत्। आनन्दलीलामय विग्रहाय हेमाभ्यदिव्यच छविसुन्दराय तस्मै महाप्रेम रसप्रदाय चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते। चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते। चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते। Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna, Sumita Mataji. Thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So let's get started. We'll have a quick 5 minutes recap of what we did last time. Does anyone remember any points from last time? What we discussed? Yes, Mataji.
So we had 3 stories you shared with us. I'll try to remember the first one so somebody else can share the others. The first one was the main summary of the first story was sharing is caring. It was a European photographer who went to one of the countries in, I think, Africa, and try to have among the poorest children have a race, offering them whoever wins the race will get a bag of candy. And the outcome of the race was one of the child falls while he's running, and the others run and help him. So he asks question, why don't you just carry on with your race and try to win the bag of candy? And that's what the whole summary was. The sharing is caring. I think that's pretty much it, right?
Yes, thank you so very much for sharing, Parul Mataji. Does anyone remember anything else? Okay, so we also discussed about one of the child who was found, who was lost in the um, fun fair, and we talked about like, okay, how like we are like the lost child. Okay, we discussed about Narad Muni's past life and the story of Dasharathi. So now, um, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to do 16 to 20 sessions. It is going to be intense, and during these sessions, there are going to be a lot of learnings through this. And if you're able to um, take notes, take ask questions through these, there'll be a lot of learnings that will be going through. So today's session was designed based on a question that came up from one of you. Okay, so today's session is based on, does God exist? Now, it could be something very surprisingly okay for all of you that okay, hey, why do we actually need this kind of a session? I anyway know that God exists. So let's try to go through this. And as we go through this, I want you to just hear attentively and relate, like, okay, within our personal lives, how we connect through this. There are going to be a lot of examples as we go through this. So if you can keep a pen and paper handy so that you can make a note of this. These examples, these things might help you to understand. And not just that, as you go through these in your day-to-day life, you may be able to introspect many different things. And as we come, like, okay, as we complete few sessions after that, I may ask you to share, like, okay, if you have something to share, you may have found something, like, okay, on your side. So with that, having said that, we will get started. Um, and so there was once in a village, there was a in village people like approach saints. So one of these uh, one like the people of the village, they approached a saint and they said, please come to our village and please tell us about God. So so they were saint initially said, okay, I'll come, but these people kept insisting, no, no, please come, please come. And the saint finally came in. And when the saint came in, he looked at everyone and he asked, do you all believe in God? Then initially, no one raised their hands. Uh, but then the saint said, okay, okay, all of you who believe in God, please raise your hands. Okay. So, so then no one raised their hands. So the saint said, oh, none of you believe in God? So then there is no point of me speaking. And the saint left. So now these villagers were very disappointed. He said, oh, actually, we did not know how to interact with the saint. So he said, okay, next time they again went and pleaded, please come, please tell us something about God. So then the saint came again and he said that, okay, how many of you believe in God? Um, so, and so, so then now with the last time's experience, since no one raised their hand, this time everyone raised their hands. We all believe in God. So the saint said that, okay, oh, okay, so all of you believe in God? Then in that case, what can I speak? Since you already know there is nothing that I can speak here. The saint left. Now the people were very bewildered. Oh, last time no one raised their hand, this time everyone raised their hands, and still the saint left. So next time they again went and prayed, please you come here and please tell us about God. So this time again after repeated pleading, the saint came and the saint said, okay, how many of you believe in God? Please raise your hands. So now these villagers, they had already planned. So now what they did is half of them raised their hands and half of them did not raise their hands. So the saint said, okay, so half of you know about God, and remaining half they do not know about God. So then what you do is the first half who already know about God, you can tell the other half about God. So so why I'm saying this story is this is our situation. Like if you see most of the time, especially in India or practically in everyone, like, okay, when we ask this at the bottom of our heart, like, does do we believe that God exists? Then most of us think, oh well, maybe something like that exists. And someone says, everything is God. Whatever you see, everything is God. Someone says, you are God. Like many people go to doctor and say, you are God. And there are some more who says, I am God. Then there are some people who say, God is love. Then there are some people who say, God is light. So we have some conception of God, really not sure, like, okay, whether he exists or not. And it's not that none of us are like atheists also. So that is our situation. So with that in mind, like, okay, let us go through this journey of like understanding, like, does God exist? So let's start with this, like, okay. Um, so, uh, s- like, whenever there is a creation, right? That means there is a creator behind it. So can we say that, like, okay, one day, like, okay, wind came and all the tube lights, beautiful AC, they all came by chance, and a nice place was created. Now you might say, okay, that is absurd. What nonsense is this? But when we see this beautiful creation, right? We like obviously there must be a creator behind that. Let's take an example here. I'll take a live example. So we all know about Isaac Newton. So Newton, he once um, Newton, he was a theist person. He believed in God, and many of us see, as you know, when people become scientists or people have a lot of power, whether it could be money or like it could be knowledge of science, it could be like their education qualifications. Now, many times that makes someone really think, like, okay, why do I really need God? So Newton had a lot of scientists who were atheists actually. So one day what happened is Newton had a beautiful model of a solar system on his table. So it had the sun in the center and all the planets were around the sun. Okay. And in fact, like there was a lever also. So if you turn the lever, all the planets would move around the sun in their respective orbits. And the moons also go around their respective planets. So one day what happened? Like a friend came and he asked Newton, he asked that, oh, this is such a beautiful model. I would like to know, like, okay, where can I get this? So Newton said, like, no, no, actually, I was just walking in the morning. I came after my morning walk, and like, this all of a sudden, like this, just came out of nowhere. So his friend said, "Come on, Newton, I'm serious about it. I would like to know." He said, "Newton, "Arey, I'm also serious. What I'm saying is also very seriously. Okay, I just, you know, this did not exist. When I just opened the door, like I came out of the walk, all of a sudden, I saw this was here." So the friend said, "I think you're pulling my leg. See, please tell me what it is." Newton said, "I'm very serious." So he said, like, okay, see, this type of jokes are not good. Please tell me like what it is. So Newton, he became very grave. He said, "My dear friend, you do not believe that this small model of solar system came by itself. Then how do you believe that the original solar system that came out of nowhere?" without without some intelligent person behind it. This is something to think of. See, unfortunately, we are saying that the whole universe is created by Big Bang. There was a Big Bang, and this beautiful creation of all its variety has come about. Can we just imagine how foolish and how absurd it is? But unfortunately, this is what we believe. In fact, this is what we are taught in our textbooks, that the creation came from the Big Bang. So with so let's take another example. So when we see something working perfectly, right, that means there is some brain behind it. So when we see that there is something, there is some process that is working fine, so that there is a designer behind that process. A small boy, like, when he sees the trains coming on time, like, okay, so the small boy might think, oh, this is happening so wonderful. This is all happening by chance. One train in this track, another train in that track, like. So if by chance, if it cannot happen by chance. See, when all these trains are coming, right? If one train comes a little early, there'll be a crash. Then there are some trains which are in up track and down track, right? If all of them come, if both the trains come in the same track, then what will happen? So there is, for anything to happen perfectly, there has to be a perfect intelligence behind it. There is a person behind it who has designed so that no accident can occur. See, it's same thing, like, okay, we can apply for air traffic control also. See, in air traffic control also, like, so many flights are going. Like, it's not just happening by chance. Some layman, like child, may think there is by chance, but there is an air traffic control behind that. If we look at the solar system, galaxy, right? There are so many planets that are moving. It is not happening by chance. No scientist has created that solar system. So, in fact, like, okay, if you see, recently we had an eclipse. So we can exactly say when will be the next eclipse. Even if you see those, if you know this ephemeris or the panchang that are there. So in that there is a prediction that thousands of years after, like, okay, when this eclipse is going to happen, you can predict that. So it is such a perfect law, actually. If you take, for example, like, human beings give birth to a human being only. Human beings don't give birth to a donkey. There is a perfect law, actually. So it's so heredity, etc. I mean, all of these examples, if you see, this implies that there is a lawmaker. So whatever is the intelligence behind these laws, so they're they are intelligent because they have been created by some intelligent person. Now, this source, we say that this is God. However, like, if we just say that God did this, so the definition of God must be very clear. Otherwise, what will happen is there'll be a lot of confusion. See, when we say science, right? Science means there has to be a proper definition. If there is no definition, like, too much confusion will exist. So let us let us see how we can understand God, like. So what can be the definition of God? So we have to be very clear, like, that now that we are discussing on God, what would be the definition of God? So first thing is, like, okay, see, the God, uh, he's the ultimate source of everything. We were talking about creation, right? So he's not just the ultimate source of everything, but from whom everything comes, but who himself does not have any other source. Okay. And I would suggest, like, if you have any questions, you can make a note of that, like, okay, we can discuss, like, okay, at the end of the session. So um now I am here. So the cause, like, I have father and mother, like, okay, and we all are here, like, we have father and mother, like, we know that they are the source. But ultimately, who was the original source of all the living entities and everything uh, that are that are coming in? Like, okay, so can you imagine? Like, okay, see, I am there. Like, okay, I have my parents. They have their parents. They have their parents. They have their parents. Now, i- in a chain of this, like, okay, when does it go to like an original source where there is nothing beyond that? Okay, so if if there is anything anyone can fit into that definition, then that definition is what we can refer from now on as God. God means he has to be cause of all causes, where there is no other cause, like who is not a cause of anything else. So if he is a cause of anything else, that means there is an effect. So so if someone is fitting into that definition, then he is referred as God. Okay. So we spoke about this first scenario, like God is ultimate source of everything. Now God, he must be a supreme controller. Okay. So all of us, like, okay, we control some things in our life, right? Some people are controlling things at house. We spoke about this earlier also. Some people are controlling nations. Some people may be controlling a state. Some people may be controlling a community, and and uh, if not all, like, okay, we are at least we are the controller of our own body to some extent. Now think about this. Now I want you to just think about this. Can the president of America say that I control the lives of every living entity within the country? Any president, can they say that I can control the life of every living entity within the country? No. He has no control even of his own position. Can the head of state say that I can control every situation in my state? No. Can any of us say that I can completely control like every situation and everything in my family? Is there anyone who can say that? Hello? Uh, is there anyone who says that who cannot control? Maybe I can put it that way. You can raise your hand. Okay, I see some hands up. Okay, so the remaining ones are saying that okay, they can control. So yes, so there is that is the situation. Can can any of us say? Um, so we are all controllers, but what to speak about controlling our family? We cannot even control our own body. The body is not under our control. Let's take, for example, if there's a nature's call, we have to respond to it. If our heart stops beating, we cannot say, okay, let's start. We can't do that. We can't stop the hair from falling from our own hand. Then what kind of God are we? But why I'm saying this is because there are so many people who claim themselves to be God and they can't control the hair from falling from their head. What can they control the whole universe? Right? Isn't it foolish? So God means he's the supreme controller of all controllers. Everything is perfectly under his control, and not even a blade of grass moves without the sanction of the Lord. That is God. Then, uh, then in that case, we can say in capital, like if he is the controller of everything, then in capital we can say that is God. But anyone like who is claiming to be a God but does not control everything and calls himself God, that is nothing but dog, opposite of that. What is that? Dog. Okay. So so now we talked about God being the supreme controller. Now the third thing is God is the supreme proprietor. Now God, he like by definition, he should be the owner of everything. So none of us can claim proprietorship of our body, of our home, of some property, right? Like we may say that, okay, sometimes like, okay, we may claim that, okay, this property belongs to us and we leave, we go to some other place and then we come back and someone else has already claimed that, And we say that, okay, we have a government paper. These days it's happening actually. There are so many frauds happening. So as far as the body is concerned, like, okay, ultimately we all have to die one day. So we have to leave that body and we have to go away. So we are just a tenant residing in this body. And then at one point of time, we have to leave. So we are not even the proprietor of our own body. Okay, can we say we'll be eternally there with this body? No. In this way, none of us can claim that any property belongs to us. If there is any object like that we see, if anything that we see, whether it's a place, house, the states, the galaxies, everything. Like if someone can claim that, okay, I this everything belongs to me, then that person by definition can be called God. So we talked about God being as the proprietor. Then fourth scenario is God is the supreme enjoyer. So he's actually the one who is real. If he owns everything, then it is the person who actually enjoys. So I'll give you one small example with this. If you see, like there are companies like, okay, where laborers are working, or if you take even a hotel, right? There is a cashier and there is a server. Okay, there are cleaners, right? If you go, I know, I remember, like, okay, and here we have Vatsal Prabhu is there. So Vatsal Prabhu knows that, okay, like in India, uh, I'm from one town in Gujarat, like, okay, Bhavnagar. So there, when we go from Bhavnagar to Ahmedabad, so there are some places in between, like on the way, where the bus stops, and in those, these are like food restaurants. Like, okay, so there we see there's a cashier. There are many servers, many cleaners. They're all working, and the cashier is collecting cash, putting it in a bag. Then at the end of the at the end of the day, the a big person comes and he puts all the cash in his bag and he goes away. So these people, like, who are there, right? Who are the cleaner, server, like, okay, cashier, like, okay, they are all working very hard. But why is it that the end of the day that other person comes and he puts it in his bag? Um, why is he? Why is he the enjoyer of all days of work? Because he's the proprietor of that particular hotel. He's the owner of that hotel. So therefore, why I'm saying this is, for a person to be a supreme enjoyer, one has to be a supreme proprietor. So if we say we are the supreme enjoyer, we can be a supreme enjoyer only if we are the real owner of the property. So what is the proof of the proprietorship? Proof of proprietorship is the control. If you own something, you should be complete controller. If you say I am the controller of my body, then can you control disease? Can you control from dying? We can't control. So far, to summarize this, like, okay, we talked about God being the supreme controller, uh, the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor. Okay, and he's the source of everything. These four things we talked about. So he has created everything, and he has nobody who claims that uh, that they have created him. So he's the who is the cause of all causes. So far, I want to take a pause here, and I want to ask: is there any question so far? Is it the pace that I'm going? Is it understandable? Does anyone want to say?
Yes.
Is is it
Yes.
understandable? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for confirming, Palmataji. So, how do we recognize who is God? So, we see the creation. Now, when we see something, right? Like, let's say we see an old building. So we'll have to go back and then try to find out, like, okay, trace this back in history. Like, okay, when was this building created? Right? We want to know that, okay, is there a person who created it? Who is the person who has created it? I know in Chicago there are some old buildings. Like, okay, if you go to Chicago downtown, Then there are some old building, even in New York also. Many buildings they have written like, okay, this was built in so and so year, so much constructed. Like, okay, so we are talking about buildings which are 50 years old, 100, say 1,000 years old. Okay, you can find out, right? If it is 1,000 years old, also you can find out. But how do we find out about this creation, which is like millions and trillions of years old? It's very difficult, right? Not only that, this creation is so huge, and therefore the creator must have existed beyond this creation and apart from that creation. So we don't have a time machine that okay, let's go back. So uh, I mean, forget about distance and everything. Like okay, where will we go? So how do we get that knowledge of an event or of a person or of a thing which is long beyond this time and place actually? So because if we want to know who created the creation, we have to know that, right? So that gives rise to a question: how do we acquire knowledge of anything at all? Is it a is it a good question? Like, okay, how do we get a knowledge of anything? Like, okay, where we may or may not be existing in time. So our it is said that there are three ways of acquiring knowledge, and please hear this very carefully. So what are those three ways? First ways, it's called pratyaksha praman. Pratyaksha praman means knowledge through direct sense perception. Pratyaksha, aksha means eyes, and prati aksha means right in front of our eyes. So if we see a gulab jamun, we know that okay, what this gulab jamun looks like, and through our senses, if we taste it, like we know how it tastes, how it smells, we directly get an experience of that, right? So we can, through this senses, we acquire knowledges. We acquire different type of knowledge. But many times our senses have defects. The senses has four defects. What are those defects? First thing is the senses have they are very limited. Let's take an example. Um, like the capacity or the perception of the senses is limited. We see from eyes, and many people say, "Oh, I only believe what I can see." But then this eye cannot perceive what is just under the eyebrow or the eyelid. So if you see, eyelid is right in front of the eye, but you cannot see it. If something is too close, you cannot see it. If something is too far, you cannot see it. Sometimes we see a plane in the sky, like it's moving. Suddenly the plane disappears. I mean, in it has disappeared in our range of sight. It's not that the plane has disappeared. The point I'm trying to make is that our senses are limited. Next defect is we are under illusion. So now this is very common. You will be able to understand this very easily. We talk about optical illusion, right? It's a common term actually. We talk about auditory illusion. Oh, I thought it was so and so. Oh, I heard. Oh, I thought this person has come, and then suddenly, like, okay, you see someone else. Like, okay, we just by looking at someone, we we think them to be someone else, and as they come nearer or as it clicks us, then we think, oh, I just identified a wrong. I mean, either a wrong person. I just thought him to be wrong person. It's an illusion. So, and even if you see, if you put a stick in water in a glass glass of water, it will look bent. It may look broken, but actually it is not. Why is it happening? Because our senses are limited. So, I mean, sometime if you see a sun or a moon, right, it may just appear like a small disk because it is so far. We are not able to understand that it's so magnanimous side. It is so big, right? So from a distance we see it small. So what is the point we are making through this? That we are under illusion. Third thing is we all make mistakes. In English, there is this saying, right? To err is human. There are so many mistakes that we make, and and we we think that this is truth, and later we have so many discoveries. The word research means what? Research. You are searching something again. But if you see, like, through this, many times, like, okay, you may see in newspaper or in news, like, okay, nowadays in internet, like, okay, tomatoes are very good for health. After 2 years, tomatoes are not so good for health. Like this, like whether it's food habits or anything, like, okay, this is very good for health. Sometime after that, you learn that, okay, oh, this causes cancer. So lot of the we all make human. In fact, like, there is a classic example is, and there was there is one of this Nobel Prize winners in chemistry. He was given Nobel Prize, and I forget the name, but he was given a Nobel Prize for something, and his son, he also won a Nobel Prize, but in this case, he actually proved that, okay, whatever his father had proven as wrong, and he, at that point of time, it was understood that this is the right thing, and he got a Nobel Prize for proving what his father proved and got the Nobel Prize, still got a Nobel Prize. So we all make mistakes, okay. And then the fourth thing is we have a cheating propensity. So we say, I'm right, I can see it, but our perception is limited. So sometimes, like, okay, sometimes what happens is we may make innocent errors, but there are sometimes we have tendencies where we make deliberate errors. So many times you will see scientists are also not immune to this. Okay, there are many research papers that comes out. Like, okay, and I was talking to a researcher. I have a relative, like, okay, who is a researcher. He was saying, like, okay, we are being paid to do this kind of research. I have a job because they are paying me to get this results. So the result is already predetermined. So with this, we understand that there are four defects that the pratyaksha praman has. That is, the knowledge acquired through the senses is not the best. It has its own limitations, its understanding, and the absolute truth, which is beyond our senses, and in terms of time also. So we cannot determine this with the with our senses. So what is the next thing? Okay, so we talked about that, how do we get knowledge? So we talked about first thing is pratyaksha praman, and pratyaksha praman has limitations. So the next one is anuman praman. Anuman praman means knowledge that is acquired through inference. So um, how can we say inference? Inference means we speculate many times. So different people, they see the same thing and they speculate differently and come to different conclusion. So many times we'll see that, okay, there are different philosophies, whether it's science, sometimes, like, okay, of about God also. Many people have different philosophies. Okay. So each seem to be many times, like, each of them seem to be sometimes to some extent okay, but ultimately none of them satisfies. I'll give you one very clear example where everyone can correlate. Our best example is Darwin's theory. It is amazing how, for the, like, creation, Darwin says that men came from monkeys. I want to I want to ask, like, this time, like, okay, how many of you believe you did not come from monkeys? This is a serious question. You can raise your hand. Okay, okay. I see hands going. So I was just checking, like, okay, how many of you are listening actually, just to make sure that, okay, yeah. So okay, so I see some active listeners. Thank you, Rudra. Thank you, Shama Karunamay and Anangmay Chitra. So the thing is, if you see, Darwin says that men came from monkeys. Okay, so if you see the theory, it will be like a laughable matter. From branches, they came to benches. but question is, why are some of them still in the branches? The missing link is which is which. Why do they continue to be in the branches? That is missing. Okay, it is surprisingly okay. See, there is a book on origin. Darwin himself says that okay. What does he say? He says, I cannot imagine how a thing like a retina of eye, which is so complex, can by chance evolve from amoeba. Okay, he's telling that the retina of eye, how it by chance it evolved from amoeba. So it's absurd. It's impossible, and we accept it as truth. The person who wrote it, he himself is in doubt. Actually, he himself does not believe, and we are like swearing on people that okay, men came from monkeys. This is evolution. But whoever has given this, the person himself is identifying the fault. Now I want to have one quick exercise here. So if you see, um, this was one exercise that was done, and let me go ahead and share my screen. So there were whose six people whose eyes were tied, and they were shown this. Is my screen visible? You can raise your hand if my screen is visible. Okay.
Yeah.
So six people were shown this. Their eyes were tied, and they were told, "See, what is this?" The only thing is they were kept in different places. So the person who is here, who is holding this, he's saying it's a spear. Okay, he's just he has the tusk of elephant. He's thinking it's a spear. Another person who has the trunk, he's saying it's a snake. Now, one person who is touching the elephant's body, this person is saying it's a wall. Another person like who goes on top, like okay, holding the ears of elephant, he's saying it's a fan. The person who is holding the tail, that person says it's a rope. And the person who is holding the feet of elephant, okay, that person is saying that it's a tree. I have a question now, and I see Sushmita Mataji is raising her hand. You have a question? Okay, no, maybe it's a hand which was raised earlier. I have a question here.
No,
Do you
no,
think
no.
anyone who
She
is saying
doesn't.
this is saying this incorrectly? Did someone have it? Have...
I missed your question.
Okay, the question is anyone, whoever is saying here, like, okay, what is this? Is anyone saying wrong here from wherever they are looking at?
No.
Everyone is saying the correct thing only, right?
Yes.
But where is the problem? Problem is that no one is like have saying that it is a spear is correct, it's a fan is correct, it's a wall is correct, it's a rope is correct, it's a tree is correct, it's a snake. All of them are correct. But the thing is, no one is trying to understand what is the entire thing. Now, if you take someone there and just open his eyes and show him what is this, what will he say? He'll say it's an elephant. Now, why I'm telling this is, uh, see, one may speculate that okay, this is so and so. So the scientists, the philosophers, they have perceived their world through their limited senses, and they speculated the rest. So therefore, in their philosophy, something makes sense, though it is absolutely absurd. Okay, it could be actually absurd, but and you can as wherever, like what you can touch, you can feel, and wherever the objectivity stops, there the speculation begins. So we don't know that. And in this context, there is something we find. It is said, "Jato mat, tato path." Jato mat, tato path. It means as many people as there are, that many, I mean, like as many opinions there are, everything seems to be right. But to some extent, none of them are completely right. This is a this is a common term. Many people say that even like for God also. Oh, jato mat tato path means you take any path, everything is fine, right? Uh, see, in trying to understand the absolute truth, what the point that I'm trying to make is the pratyaksha praman and the anuman praman, they completely fail. So what is our next option left to understand the truth? That is called the Shabda Praman. Shabda Praman means it is the word of authority. When you hear from an authoritative source, so when these blind people, they stop speculating, right? And when we put someone, like, okay, in front of a man with proper vision, or the people whose eyes were tied, right? Um, if we open their eyes, the strap which was put in their eyes, if we show them what is this, when he's given proper vision, he's able to see that this is an elephant. So it is very important um, that we have the person with the right vision to explain like what is going on. So therefore, hearing from a proper authority is the best way of understanding the truth. For example, if a child wants to know who is my father, it's very difficult to know. This child could be lying on the street. If you go out and find a child like that, and if he just goes to find out his father in the street, he will not find out. But there is an easy way. If he goes and asks his mother, like, who is my father? The mother will tell, okay, this is your father. That's it. The matter is over, actually. So similarly, when we approach a proper bona fide authority and hear from that source about the absolute truth, then it is perfect. So just like if you have a stomach ache, you would not go to a cobbler, or you wouldn't go to a librarian. You would approach a proper doctor, as and if he gives the opinion, then that is of some value. A cobbler or a librarian will not be able to give you any opinion on that. So similarly, if you want to know the truth about the cause of the causes, the source of everything, supreme controller, who is the proprietor, who is the enjoyer, we must approach an authority. Now, we talked about authority. So what is the test of the authority? How do we know that the authority is correct? Because we have to know that also, right? We may be asking someone, but the authority also, what is the validity of that authority? See, the test of the authority is their opinion should not change after the discovery of new facts. So, and secondly, it has stood the test of time. I told about the example of the tomatoes. Eating tomato is good, but after some time, eating tomatoes is not good. We are seeing that is scientific research. So this type of thing, the opinion changed and in the test of time, right? So this should not happen. The opinion should be constant in the test of time. So since time immemorial, some facts are being repeated, and and uh, even if and if those facts, if they have not been proved wrong, then we can say that this authority is perfect. If there is a relative truth, that is subject to trade, that is subject to change. But our interest, if our interest is absolute truth, then that will remain unchanged. So, so we spoke about the authority, and then what could be the authority? So when we when we say authority, right, that is what we call as scriptures or shastra. They are called Vedas. So Vedas, they they are they do not change with time. The same words are being repeated. They are not being changed. They have not been proved wrong. It has stood the test of time. Many times people think that, okay, Vedas means that old, oh, I know what it is. Yeah, that old palm leaf reading, right? No, 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 no. Please don't understand that. Like people have this understanding, oh, palm leaf reading, which has been written by someone who is sitting on the caves of Himalayas. So please give up those misconceptions. Vedas, they come from this word, comes from the root word um, with, meaning Vidya. Vidya means knowledge, and Vedas means that which is knowable. So this knowledge, as I said, like, okay, it has stood the test of time. It does not change over a period of time, and it has not been proved wrong. That is Vedas. And for the Vedic scriptures, um, they come from a perfect source. That means that the perfect person who created this, they have a manual has been given for that. Just like when you buy an electronic instrument, you buy a mobile phone, you get a manual with that. You buy a refrigerator, you get a manual for that. You buy a dishwasher, you get a manual for that. The person who manufactured the instrument has already given a manual. Read this manual and you will get to know, okay, how to operate this manual, what to do if troubleshooting is there, what are the troubleshooting steps, like you will know that. So since the Vedas are claimed to be original knowledge, um, uh, so they are, so what is the proof that this Vedas is infallible? That they have stood the test of time. So there are some examples I'll give, and then before we conclude. But then one of the example is in the Srimad Bhagavatam, uh, in the scriptures, which is at least 5,000 years ago. It was presented. There are some terms used which are relevant, so relevant even today. So in the uh, seventh canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the pastime of Maharaj Ambrish, okay, it is described that he was the king of Sapta Dweep, means 7 islands. And there is a term used, Bhugol. Bhugol means, Bhu means earth planet, and what does Gol means? Round. Uh, so the fact that the earth is round was proclaimed, is it was available in the Srimad Bhagavatam 5,000 years back. Now, I will take you back to few years back in the 15th century. Columbus, he was sailing, like he was trying to find India, and at that time, like okay, um, when at that time it was not known that the Earth is round. Everyone used to think that the Earth is flat. Okay, and in the and Columbus, like okay, he went to discover India and he discovered America. The point over here is that something that was available 5,000 years back in the Srimad Bhagavatam, science did not know that. Like, okay, um, and it was discovered, researched only a few years back, that the Earth is round. But this was already available earlier. That is where the term came from, Bhugol. Uh, so similarly, like, okay, in the Now many people, okay, if they hear scriptures and things like that, they say, oh, I know that. Okay, I mean, yeah, I know everything and I know many things, but I just want to present a fact that, okay, many times, okay, if you look at in the Vedic scriptures, it is said this cow dung is considered to be very, very pure. And if you technically see, it's a stool of an animal, so it's considered to be very contaminated. um, so but the cow dung, scientists found out that, okay, this has a lot of antiseptic properties. Okay, this has some wonderful properties, and many um, even um, even the cow dungs are being used to make medicines actually, which are very highly effective. So same thing for cow urine also. Now, if you take any other animal's urine or human urine, it's considered contaminated. But people purify home, like, okay, with cow urine. So and it is being very much proven. It is cow urine is being used as a fertilizer also. So the the point here is that the points that are coming from the scriptures are very authentic. Now let's take a very modern example. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the third canto, um, Kapil Muni is describing to his mother, Devahuti, about uh, the growth of a child in the womb of the mother, right from the day one of conception till the birth of the child. He goes into very graphic descriptions of what happens inside the womb in these 9 months from the time of conception. And all of these facts, like, okay, for those who are in US, like, okay, we feel like, okay, oh, when a baby is born, they show like visually like what is happening. Only very recently, like in few decades, like, okay, these machines have come up, and then science has got to know, like, okay, oh, these are all happening here within this. But the graphic details of every day by day, week by week, what are the changes that are happening, these were already known in Srimad Bhagavatam. So you can imagine, like, okay, when this X-ray came in, other for science, like, okay, these are only few decades back, but these were already available 5,000 years before. Kapil Muni is telling this, what is happening. And at that point of time, there was no medical textbook. This is a Srimad Bhagavatam is not a medical book actually. It, but it has information of medicine. Okay, it has medicine. It has information about astrology. It has information about physics. It has uh, it has such graphic descriptions about the entire creation. So many things, so rich, and that too, that is mentioned so casually. This means that in the Vedic scriptures, even a layman had so much knowledge that even the scientists of today don't have. Just casual reading of the Vedic text, okay, if they had full faith and they followed it, like, okay, they were able to live simple, happy, blissful life. See, there are so many descriptions like this. Like, even there are predictions of the future that are provided. So there there is so many things, like, okay, of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was available 5,000 years ago, where it was shared, like, okay, about Buddha. Where will he take birth? Who will his father be? Who will his mother be? What would be his purpose in this particular birth? It is going into very detailed descriptions of that. In the Bhavishya Puran, it has been said um, about the appearance of Jesus Christ, in how he will appear in the country where there'll be degraded mlechas and yavanas, and how he will uplift them by presenting a philosophy. Even Muhammad has been predicted. He has been predicted in the Atharva Ved and in the Bhavishya Puran. So with very, very details they are provided. The only thing is we have to understand it in the right perspective. And when we go through this Vedic scriptures, we will know that, okay, how detailed these are. So, and if we read the scriptures and understand them, nothing will surprise us for several thousands of years. Okay, this is the proof to show how powerful each verse of these Vedas are and how the essence of these Vedic scriptures are. For example, like, okay, see, like we are now living in Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga is an age of quarrel and hypocrisy. Kali, Kali means kalaha. Okay, there is quarrel and at every step, and there is hypocrisy. This is also very clearly described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I know we are out of time, but I want to stop here. And we wanted to discuss about, does God exist? We discussed in very detail about, yes, what are the different ways. I mean, we talked about, if we try to summarize, then we talked about who can be God, what is the definition of God. Okay, nothing happens by chance. Okay, if there is a creation, that implies a creator. We talked about the story of Newton. We we talked about the Big Bang theory and how absurd it is. We talked about the one of the examples that we talked about was the train, the air flight control, and different examples to see that, okay, how in the creation nothing is happening by chance. And then we went into the definition of God, to how he is the ultimate source of everything, how God is the supreme controller, how he is the supreme proprietor, the supreme enjoyer. And uh, then we went on to understand how we can recognize God. Okay, what are the different ways? So we talked about the three pramans: pratyaksha praman, anuman praman, uh, and the third one is the shabda praman. So how pratyaksha praman and the anuman praman have their limitations. And then we talked about, like, the shabda praman, we went into discussing about the authority. So with this, I want to just stop here and take a pause here and understand if any of you have any questions. I know there were a lot of examples, lot of information. Please let me know if this pace was okay, if this was understandable, if you think that this is helping you. I wanted to go step by step, not jump into things, but that way you can easily digest what is provided. And then as you reflect through this, if you have made notes of this, as you reflect through this, there will be a lot of things that you can um, understand. And also, I want to share that, okay, in the last week's session that we had, in the YouTube video, there were 4 stories, and these have been made into chapters. If you go to the YouTube, you'll be able to see those chapters, and you can go into any of the stories if you want to see. If you have like 10-15 minutes, if you want to just go through one of the stories, you can do that also, and you can carry on from there from the in the next session. So I'll stop here. If there are any questions, we can take. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. गौरंग कुटी भक्त वृंद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, वंशा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. If you have any questions, I cannot see any of you, but if you want to if you want to share your darshan, I'll be very happy. And I can see someone is on iPhone, but I can't see who that is. So I'll request, like, okay, if you can, uh, uh, but if you have any questions, let me know. I'll have you raise your hands if you have any questions. Hare Krishna. It's Prabhu. Thank you for your
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna. Do you have any questions or any comments? Hare Krishna, Samita Mataji. Hare Krishna, Rudransh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Shushmita Mataji. So,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Oh, Hare Krishna, Yuvan. So, yes. Yes, Hare Krishna, Rihansh. So you can, if you have any questions, we can take it now or we can close it here. Any questions or any comments, any suggestions if you have? Is this helping? Do you think that is understandable?
Yes, Mama.
It is understandable.
Yes.
Okay. Very well. Very nice. Thank you. So we'll stop here. Hare Krishna. And if you have any questions, if during the week, if you think there was something that is a question, you can share that. See, the idea is if we hear it with depth, as we go on hearing with depth, we want to understand God, right? God, if we are understanding Him with the depth, with faith, then as we go into the classes, as it gets deeper through the future course of classes, you will see how each and every point that you are able to hear, correlate, they will make a lot of sense. And if you are making some points, notes through this, then on your day-to-day dealings, you'll have better reflections as we move forward. So I see Shama Karunamai has a question. Oh, Hare Krishna. Anangmay Chitra also I see here. Hare Krishna. Oh, Hare Krishna, Ashok Kishan Charan Prabhu. Thank you.